What's up guys, welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you want to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
It really added that addictive touch we were hoping for. Now, like ants to a hill of sugar, we were seeing people come back again and again. So we had booty in the treasure chests, monetary rewards for beating every 10th floor, and plunder from the monsters themselves. A lot to attract repeat business with. Thus, it was fair to say that the labyrinth was going well. It was perhaps inevitable that more people were showing up in the town.
And floor 95 is just packed.
Effused Ramiris, the others nodding their agreement. Yes, the new inn on floor 95 was already a big success. Each floor had a conspicuous room before the stairway containing a rather unnatural-looking door reading in on it. There was a bell next to each one. Explorers rang it to call for a labyrinth manager who'd explain what lay beyond the door and how they could take advantage of it. 1 silver coin was required to open it, not much less than admission to the labyrinth, but to regulars, that wasn't going to be a big outlay. The majority of people who heard the manager's spiel wound up paying, after all. And there was a good reason for that, the ever-changing labyrinth structure. Thanks to all the corridors and such changing every 2 or 3 days, it was much trickier to conquer a floor than its size suggested. Few people could advance through a huge map without getting lost, and we had measures in place to prevent elementalists from relying on elemental communication too much. It was now a challenge to find the shortest route through a floor, and as a result, you really couldn't reach the save point at every 10th floor in a single day. Thus, until now, parties were forced to camp out in the corridors.
I've never slept in an open corridor before like that, actually.
Oh?
I turned to Masayuki.
How was it? Seems pretty fun.
Ha! Maybe for you, Rimuru, but if you're sleeping on cold, hard stone, you're gonna get terribly sore and maybe bruised up. The other 2 guys besides Bernie and me seemed pretty used to it, but
Not even Jiwoo, a woman, objected to roughing it like that. But to Masayuki, sleeping in shifts to keep a lookout for monster attacks was nothing short of hell.
Aw, sounds rough.
can you give me some actual pity, please? Because I never want to do that again, that's for sure.
I suppose it would be an ordeal for most modern-day kids, whether you were an otherworlder or not. You could secure a treasure chest chamber or some such and set up camp there, of course. But you'd still need someone keeping watch, since some monsters constantly wandered the hallways without rest. In those circumstances, providing a safe place to rest was unexpectedly popular. There was also the question of what to do with the equipment you found inside. Discarding it would be a waste, since, as we planned it, there may just be a rare find among things that might seem like junk at first. But between your sleeping kit, a few days' worth of food, and backup equipment, you had only so much room to spare. When space is of the essence, food is often the first thing to go. If you ran out of stores, you'd have little choice but to retreat, although some monsters left behind edible goods when defeated. Water could be procured with magic, so a lot of people made do with the barest minimum of sustenance. If you were at the end of your rope, you could always die and get transported back with your resurrection bracelet. That cost you your items, but it beat struggling with starvation. Along those lines, people were starting to reconsider the merits of the return whistles. Since they let you return to the surface with all your items, more and more people were starting to purchase them. Thus, a consequence of the labyrinth's new emphasis on dropped items was that people tended to carry less food around than before. So what if we had an inn available down there? If you're well enough to reach a stairway, the inn was there for you, obviating the need for food or a sleep sack and making your pack a lot lighter. Yes, if an inn were available, a lot of people would naturally want to take advantage. They provided safe rooms for 3 silver coins, the same as labyrinth admission. Between that and the access fee, you had to pay double or triple the price of a regular inn to stay there, but at least you got a meal with it. Those 3 coins gave you access to a building divided by gender, filled with capsule hotel-like rooms just large enough for a bed and little else. I'm not going to talk this place up too much, your money didn't get you luxury. I was having some treants run it for us, and the work was carried out by new staff as an on-the-job education program. Cleaning, laundry, cooking, customer service, our hires would get to practice all of that here, and if they make the grade, they'll be able to find work up on the surface. Despite the rustic conditions, the inn still found its clientele. Your money bought you safety in the labyrinth, after all, and nobody was about to complain about that. We also provided a few extra services for additional fees. Clothes laundering, 3 silver. Access to a large open bath, 3 silver. Equipment cleaning and basic repairs, 5 silver. that sort of thing. These services were all kind of popular, actually. Extended rounds of fighting in the labyrinth could make you a bloody, sweaty mess, after all. The bath was also a big hit, which I figure is because women might be more sensitive to people stinking up the place. Either way, it was all at exorbitant prices compared to the surface, so our profit margins were through the roof. You were allowed to take a break in this space without getting a room, speaking of which. Simply having access to a bathroom you wouldn't get ambushed in was a huge attraction. Masayuki suggested I look into that, and when I did, I found that was, well, a pressing concern for everyone. There were no flush toilets in the labyrinth, and since you were on the razor's edge between life and death for much of your journey, you often had to resign yourself to some wet trousers, or worse. The labyrinth itself never needed cleaning, though. The generated monsters cleaned everything up for us, in particular, the slimes in the labyrinth ate anything. Human waste, the remains of dead monsters, you name it. Monsters of that rank popped right back into existence after an adventurer killed them, so hygiene wasn't a concern, at least. Plus, every time the labyrinth layout changed, Ramiris cleared out any useless garbage strewn around, ensuring the dungeon remained in remarkably spotless condition. Of course, this didn't mean people were comfortable with dropping true and doing their business in the middle of a monster-laden hallway. The labyrinth management didn't want their maze to look like an open sewer, and our challengers weren't great fans of that, either. If they got attacked by monsters in the midst of a bathroom break, it'd probably make them want to cry. Yelling, "Time out," didn't work against monsters. You'd need someone keeping watch for you, for number 1 as well as number 2, and I know I'm speaking for at least some of you when I say that going to the bathroom in an open hallway while encircled by your friends is the perfect formula. For performance anxiety, maybe a quick whiz would work, well, maybe not. If a monster caught you with your fly down and you had to fight like that. Or, even worse, you put it back in and had to piss your pants during the battle, ugh. I don't even want to imagine it. You'd probably just want to march right back home, but then you'd have to go tromping around the city of Rimuru with a huge urine stain on your pants, like you lost a bet or something. A man might be able to cope with this, I can hardly imagine how a woman would handle it. For some, death might be better than the humiliation. And considering that lots of adventuring parties were mixed gender, toilet-related practicalities were another incentive for people to use our inn. By the way, some people tried to solve this problem with magic. Certain, household magic, spells like clean wash and health management can help you maintain normal bodily functions inside the labyrinth. Health management, in particular, allows you to manage the times at which your body needs to eliminate. There were certain limits, of course, but you could use that spell to hold it in for around 3 days without issue. Unless you were the type of maniac who didn't care if he sprayed his waist all over during battle, this was a must-have spell for adventuring. Still, health management didn't work forever. If you were gonna wander around the maze for extended periods of time, relying strictly on magic was risky. Thus, it came to pass that even sorcerers and like saw fit to call upon the inn's services. So labyrinth management was all systems go for now. Mjolmile couldn't have looked more pleased with himself.
"It's going along perfectly well,"
he said.
"We're seeing a rising trend in our profits. Even subtracting the expenses incurred with the item drops we're distributing. I'm beyond satisfied with our margins. I'm looking at around 10% right now, from our original investment. My goal is 20%, and if we can attract more customers, I think we can make that happen."
So about what we figured, overall. And since I was having him report the items we provide at their sale prices instead of our own costs, we were actually making more profit. That and we weren't paying a salary to the townspeople involved with the work, so all of that was going straight into our coffers.
It seems like we could start investing more into it.
If we do, it'll be a while longer before we see government-scale profits, but I think we could get in the black before an extended amount of time.
If profit was all I cared about, we could just sell what we created at high prices. But as a nation, that wasn't enough to survive. There were people in town involved in many kinds of work. We needed to make sure it was divided up appropriately, so they could do their best at their jobs. That's why I thought it was important to set up an environment where everyone's satisfied with their work. As the ruler of this nation, it was job one for me to provide work, or really, a purpose in life, for everyone who lived in it.
Yeah, but I feel bad about them working for free.
Well,
Mjolmile said with a grin.
If you factored the average salary in Bloomend into our figures, we have more than enough of a budget to pay that to our employees. Whether they'll accept it is another question.
To a merchant like him, free labor must have been unthinkable. I could understand that. You didn't exactly need to ponder the subject deeply to see the problem. We were providing food, clothing, and shelter, and everyone seemed happy enough with that. But it didn't seem like a good work environment at all like this. I did want to compensate them all somehow, in time, but Raphael was doing a perfect job of managing them, so nobody had lodged any complaints about their treatment. Nonetheless, I decided I'd better bring this up with Rigard and my other officials shortly. But even as my subjects happily worked for nothing, one of my other acquaintances was much more faithful to her own greed.
By the way, is my payment gonna be alright?
Ramiris nervously gulped as she asked the question. All this talk must have made her think I was gonna stiff her. She didn't have to worry, I keep my promises. So I signaled to Mjolmile, who then nodded with a smile of his own.
You have every reason to expect it.
He proclaimed, trying to sound as important as possible.
I think we can pay you quite a figure, in fact.
Ramiris gave that a satisfied grin.
This is it.
She exclaimed.
Huh? What is?
My era, the era of Ramiris has finally arrived.
Had it? Because I wasn't so sure. But Trainee, bringing some tea in, warmly smiled at Ramiris as she guffawed at this. I always thought Trainee was overprotective of her, love can be smothering like that, but I wasn't about to get involved in their affairs.
Do I receive any of this payment?
Oh, now Veldora's interested in money? That's the last thing I need, but we do owe him one. I gave another nod to Mjolmile.
Yes, of course, we have a payment prepared for you as well. Would you be satisfied with the same amount Lady Ramiris is set to receive?
Mjolmile and I had worked this out in advance. Veldora, after all, was acting as the master of this labyrinth. Not that he had to do anything, really, but it was his magicules that kept the dungeon environment running. His converting magic ore to magisteel for us, in and of itself, generated huge profits for Tempest. I didn't think it right to try to cheat him.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shoutout to Wabalabadubdub, Mark Nathan Padua, Rambaru, Night Gazer, Wilfred Miller, Rahul Subramanian, Jason Kenji, Richard Powell Jr., Art King, and last but not the least, shoutout to Tangel. I'll see you guys in the next video.